an instrumental part of Agora worldwide, Agora worldwide, Agora worldwide. Counter economics, Agorist strip, black market click, move a quick flip, can't regulate this. Agorist strip, black market click, move a quick flip, can't regulate this. Agorist,
Agorist,
Agorist, Nexus, Agorist.
This is Brandon with the Agorist Nexus podcast. I've got my great co-host Dag. How you doing, Dag?
I'm dealing, man. It's been a heck of a week on the farm, but but I'm doing all right.
Right.
Yeah. We got goats, and it's been a little bit of a handful getting used to them. They're outside the window right now, bagging because they won't stay in their pen. It's ridiculous. I don't know what to do about it, but I have to build a better one tomorrow.
You sent me a picture of a coyote. I was like, kill it.
Yeah. We had that's why I've been so terrible, because we got these guys, so they're like making innocent baby goat noises, just attracting coyotes like all over the county. And yeah, we had one break in this week, and it ate one of our turkeys. And I managed to get it in a trap the next night, but it took off with the trap attached to it. So I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's live. I don't know what's going on with it, but I don't think it's going to be back. So I can sleep a little bit easier, but it's been a little rough, but it's all good. It's, part of the adventure. How you doing, man? What do we got going on today?
Man, we got World War III, but we've got a lot of stuff to go over. I'd say it is kind of like an in-game 7 episode. But yeah, we'll get into the details on that later. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Presearch, decentralized search engine, privacy. Don't get spied on. Earn crypto while you do it. It's a no-brainer, and they've got dark mode. If you really want to support us, which I hope you do, you can hit our affiliate Presearch link, and that's going to show Presearch that we're worth sponsoring. And please do that if you haven't already.
Take a step to stop using Google. It's not that hard. It seems daunting, but it's not. Unless you got to spell something, then Google's good for that.
Yeah, Google's Google's my glorified spell checker.
Yeah. I still cannot figure out how to spell bureaucracy without trying to type it into there. My phone doesn't do it. My phone doesn't pick up bureaucracy, and I just cannot remember how to spell it. With how much I bitch about it, you think I could, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one. So So,
all right.
With that said, I want to first say that war is the reason why me and my brothers became libertarians in 2002. We saw, the Iraq war started in 2003, but 2002 we're like, this doesn't make any sense. There's no proof of weapons of mass destruction. They were banging the war drums. I mean, all media stations were like, Iraq's bad. Iraq's bad. They would show you all this bad stuff about Saddam Hussein, blah, 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 Kurds getting gassed, so on and so forth. And we're just sitting here, me and my brothers, like, okay, there's no weapons of mass destruction. They had nothing to do with 9/11. Not even any of the hijackers were from Iraq, right? And so we're just sitting here like, man, the Republicans really want this. There has to be something else, and there has to be something better. And I mean, thing too is like, back then there were so many bad men. It was like we could go to war with 30 other countries besides Iraq. If we're just going to war with him because he's a bad man. So yeah, me and my brothers have always been really anti-war, and we were like, there has to be something better than this, and we found the Libertarian Party, and that's kind of what started off our journey. And then unfortunately, the U.S. did go into Iraq, and we were extremely disgusted and disappointed with that decision, and rightfully so. I mean, I still think to this day that we were right, that it was the wrong move. And
yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely second that one. Man, you were way ahead of me, dude. In like 2002, 2003, I didn't watch any single piece of news in either of those years. I did not care. I was probably, when it first happened, I was probably like, yeah, you can't come fuck with us like that, Go America.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that was
banging the war drums. I would have been so disgusted.
I wasn't banging the war drum. Like I said, I didn't really care much, but it was on the face of it, it's like, yeah, man, it's like, dude, like when like I first found out like we didn't win Vietnam, like I'm just so used to being like America and like we win everything that it was like, what do you mean we lost a war once? Like that's crazy. And then like being from like the South, and I found like the South lost a civil war. I was like, oh my God, like I've never been on like the losing team before, There's just that kind of a blind pride, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
statist. It's out there.
Yeah. I think almost all of us used to be statists, but
can't really help it.
Yeah. So, and then what really got me into agorism was War II. I really liked not funding the state, because without funding the state or even just using their currency, if enough people did that, they wouldn't be able to manipulate their currency or forward war. So yeah, that's really what got me into agorism too. And I think that it's an extremely noble cause to be an agorist and not want the state to bomb and fight people. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's like one of the biggest budget items, right? Is military and war right now?
Yeah, I think it's like, okay, so what's like our annual thing, like 4 trillion, or like before 2020, let's say, like, wow, I can't believe I'm saying back when it was reasonable, Wow. I think it was like 4 trillion. Yeah, I think the military was close to $1 trillion or something. I should know that, put me on the spot. Yeah, it's huge. And you can just look at it. It's like, we spend more than what, like the next 30 countries combined. The biggest polluter on like the planet is the US military. Yeah, it's just atrocious. And, it's kind of the basis for, Federal Reserve and all that nonsense. I mean, that's why empires, go to, printing money or, making terrible quality coins, devaluing the currency is like to fund stupid wars. I mean, that tends to be, the case. What's that? Who does the quote? War is the health of the state. I don't remember.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it. Yeah. That's the real reason why we went to Iraq, was to corporatize them and to implement a Federal Reserve. So. But that's pretty much why you had most of these Middle Eastern countries that had regime changes. Coincidentally, it was because they didn't have central banks, and now they do. So.
Wasn't that like, the few of them that like we seemed to like, wasn't that a deal with like Syria or Libya or something? They were like, fuck off, we don't want your central banks, because isn't it, oh gosh, I only sort of know what I'm talking about here, but isn't it like so we say that like, oh, these wars in the Middle East, or people like say they're over oil, but it's not actually that like we want the oil. It's like we want to force them to like I guess like the petrodollar, like other countries have to buy oil in dollars. Yeah, and that's supposed to give the dollar, value, basically. So countries that are like, no, we'll sell oil for whatever, then it's like, well, you're going to get a regime change, I think that's kind of how it works. But of course, there's 8 million reasons, that we go to, because there's 8 million people's pockets that need to be filled, contractors. I mean, what's the saying? Toothpaste to tube socks. It's just every single thing, military's got to buy it, and they're going to pay 5 times as much, at least for it, from some politician's cousin. And it's, it's just really like, I think it's kind of always been that way, but really since like World War I, it's just really, really grown to this really like warfare state. It's pretty gross, and it's just such a waste, man. I mean, because it's, fuck, man. I mean, not just the death, like, right, like that's awful. Like, I don't even need to go any further than that, but just the blatant just destruction of resources. In 1984, he makes a point. He's like, an aircraft carrier, the amount of materials that go into that could build like 20 cargo ships. You know, what's better for society, 20 cargo ships or an aircraft carrier? You know, obviously the cargo ships, but that's not what gets built. We build an aircraft carrier, we go fucking blow it up. You know, that's just, oh, it's just so gross, man.
Yeah, you're right. And how anybody can say that war helps the economy? I mean, that's what they taught me in school. I think I believed it for a couple of years, and then when I went to the libertarian side in 2002, I was like, all this is lies. You know, you can't use your productive capacity to make things that just blow up or destroy stuff. You know, that, I mean, you can, right? But I mean that, but
yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, economy wise, you know, it's not providing anything valuable to the economy because you're just making stuff that blows up or destroys stuff. And it's such a loss of opportunity because that productive capacity could be used for, I mean, just great things. So yeah, it's,
so on that note, it looks like I have some statistics here. Now, these are by the Army, so I feel like they might not be. I don't know. Yeah, they are, but it says in 2020 for fiscal year, the Department of Defense's budget was approximately $721.5 billion. So, you know, that's a decent chunk. And
yeah,
it sounds like they're saying the biggest expense, though, is Social Security. That's supposed to be 23% of the budget. Well, okay, here's what they do. They split up defense into a couple different categories. And if you put them all together, it looks like it's the most, but they're saying Social Security is the most at 23%. But yeah, it's a lot, almost $1 trillion. So,
well, yeah. And then you've got the Pentagon missing 2.3 trillion.
Yeah.
Just so,
Yeah.
oh, oops, you know, oh no. I don't know where that went, but
Yeah. Oh, the buildings blew up. Never mind. Don't pay any attention.
the accounting department got destroyed too. Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a coincidence. It's almost like you couldn't make that shit up, dude. I mean, like, seriously.
I know. Yeah.
So,
yeah, but we, you know, we couldn't find a single engine part, but we got them terrorist passports, you know.
yeah,
So
fucking insane.
yeah, who knows what really went down, but yeah, you know, something rings a bell. I know something about it is off. So
You get that bullshit detector goes off. You know what I mean? You're like, something ain't right there. You know.
yeah. But I don't want to get too much into 9/11 on this episode. So we'll because I get I kind of go off on a tangent on that one. But yeah. So I mean, a couple scenarios here. I guess first we should read this quote. Okay. If my sons did not want wars, there would be none. Guttle
Snapper. I like saying snapper, but with a real, you know, like German ethnic kind of snapper.
Yeah.
How old is that? Is that like, how current is that? I'm curious.
This is Mayor Amschel Rothschild's wife. Mayor Amschel Rothschild's wife, and yeah, it's from the 17. He lived in the 17 or 1800s. So
okay, yeah, that picture looks. Those mutton chops don't look current.
Yeah, I think maybe. Let me double check when he was alive, because.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm just curious. Just, you know, I kind of like things like this, like how far back, you know, like. Because it's so generational, you know, like these people play the long game, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you call us conspiracy theorists, but I mean, these people have been doing this for hundreds of years. Yeah, he's born in 1770 and he died in 1812. So
1770? I have 1744. Anyhow, yeah, died in 1812. Founder of the Rothschilds banking dynasty. So he was like,
yeah,
the first of the bankers, huh?
Yeah, so he sent his 5 sons to different areas to set up banks. He sent one to England, one to Germany, one to Austria. This is just off the top of my head. His descendants furthered the family fortune across Europe. They call them the 5 arrows, quote unquote, of banking. Eldest son, Amschel Mayer, took over the Frankfurt Bank. Frankfurt is Germany. Salman moved to Vienna, so Italy. Nathan turned to London branch, so England. Nathan turned the London branch into one of Europe's most powerful institutions, of course. And Kalman set up a branch in Naples. Yeah, so that's the 5. So you've got Naples. So you've got, let's see, England, Germany, Italy. I know you have one in Austria.
Paris. Maybe Paris.
Oh, and France. Yeah, in France.
Yeah.
So those are the 5. Austria, France, Italy, England, and Germany. And so yeah, I mean, people say, oh, well, conspiracy theorist. And it's like, well, I mean, these people have been doing this for hundreds of years. It probably goes back further than this, but who knows, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, and yeah, I mean, when you just see the same names come up like over the course of hundreds of years of big important people, it's like, all right, dude, like something's up, you know, like I don't know, people just don't, they just think it's still somewhat honest. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting family, and they kind of run it like a monarch, except it's not. It's like a regular monarch would be like, okay, oldest son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or oldest sibling. But the Rothschilds kind of say, okay, it doesn't matter which of the kids, the family leader is the one that is most successful. That's the family leader. That's how they do it. It's a very interesting family. But yeah, this is what this woman says, you know, to say something like that and be like proud of it is kind of, I don't know, like, you know, you obviously didn't raise your children right. Like, oh, if my sons didn't want wars, there would be none, you know. It's like, well, maybe you should, I don't know, maybe you should hit them across the head or something. But
well, then go ahead and tell them to stop, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Stop.
Hey guys, quick pause here to tell you about our sponsor, DVault Cryptocurrency. Ticker symbol DVT is a low cap coin with a market cap around 900,000. So there could be room for opportunity here. Not financial advice, but we really like this project.
Yeah, the DVault core wallet is one of the best I've ever seen. Very user friendly, super easy to use with cold staking rewards. So it's like getting interest. They're working on privacy with Terraform, also DeFi to decentralize and replace financial institutions.
So go ahead and check them out over at devault.cc and get you a DVault core wallet today. Also, be sure to check out the show notes to find exchanges that they are traded on. With that said, let's get back to the show.
So,
Oh, goodness.
a couple topics we want to go over was Ukraine and Russia. Now, the Ukraine is not in NATO. So if there's a war between them, NATO is not obligated to go to war. So there's that. Now, will the U.S. go to war if there's a war between Ukraine and Russia? I think there's a formal alliance between the Ukraine and the U.S. So it's definitely a possibility. I know Biden doesn't like Russia, so there's that. And I think there was news that came out recently that Putin was kind of pulling back from the border a little bit, but we'll see. So it's definitely an interesting situation over there. there was that whole Crimea thing that started it off right around the Winter Olympics in Russia.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking about a few years ago when Obama was still president, right? The Crimea thing.
Was that Obama or Trump? I can't.
I think that there was something that happened under Obama, and then it's just sort of been a thing. Because they were trying to. There was something like they were backing like Nazis in Ukraine. Obama and Biden, and obviously Biden has a lot of mysterious dealings in Ukraine and everything as well. But yeah, I don't know.
Not to mention that photo where he's holding hands with the known KKK Grand Dragon or something.
Yeah, it's also one of those things that BBC and CNN don't really like to talk about. So it's kind of hard to find news on it.
Yeah, we should stop talking about it because they don't like to talk about it. So
yeah,
we don't want to spread fake news here. But
so here it goes. The Ukraine protected by NATO. I'd heard, I don't know, maybe it was on Twitter. I saw someone say something like, like China and Russia, like they just want to be left alone from like the US. I don't know if this is accurate, just what somebody said, but what the reason it intrigued me was because, you're saying that's why there's all this buildup of like why we need to be terrified of like China and Russia, because, we don't want to let them be independent. Like we want them to need us or whatever, or, maybe because we owe them money or something. But it is funny because I hear like conservatives in like my, regular life, we got to watch out for China. We got to watch out for China, and I try to ask them like, what do you think is going to happen? And they're never like China's not going to like invade us, but like they never really have like a clear answer of why it is we need to, watch out for China. And I have heard people say crazy things like we need to bomb them because of COVID, like what the fuck are you talking about? So, but it's like, I just don't really get the whole, there was the Cold War with Russia or whatever, but like, I just don't get why everyone has to be so afraid of those two countries. Is it just a boogeyman thing, you think? Just the U.S. government just trying to keep us afraid of somebody else, or what?
Who knows? They're both super. They're both just the Chinese,
and not like they're model places. I'm not saying like, oh, let's be just like them, or I'm gonna go live there or anything. I'm just, I just don't know why I should care.
Yeah, obviously war is, I'm always against war. Well, I guess it just depends, right? But for the most part, I'm pretty much against war. And but the thing is that the Chinese Communist Party is not very friendly. They have a lot of similarities with the Nazi Party.
Like the Uyghur thing, right? Aren't they just like genociding Muslims? Yeah. Is that what's going on?
Yep. They're genociding the Uyghurs, who are Muslims. It's pretty obvious. They can call them re-education camps or whatever, but it's pretty obvious that they're genociding them.
I guess the way I stand is like, okay, I don't think like the United States should like, the country, right? The government should get involved. But at the same time, like if like some dudes want to like get funding and pick up some fucking rifles and go over there and like free some people, like that's totally cool, right? But it's like, just don't like force this thing on people, don't force people to pay for some grand thing or draft people to go fight in something. But like, people are still free to like go like stop injustice, even without government and military. It's still something that can happen and is not necessarily a NAP violation as long as they're not, slaughtering some, innocent people.
Right.
But, it'd be more efficient if it was actually meant to, because war is like the most inefficient and expensive thing. But, if you were actually there to solve a specific thing and you weren't, devaluing money to pay for it, I think you get the job done. but that's not necessarily war. That's just like a mission, right? Because like war is like you're devastating a whole area or a whole group of people or something. So it's just not even like the same thing. I just feel like it's just got to be like war. It has to be like states. There's probably scenarios where it's not, but that I can think of right now.
And what I didn't like during Trump's presidency was that he really pushed China towards Russia. He really pushed them to be friends. And he did it in Trump fashion. He did it with flying colors. He really did.
What do you mean? What did he do?
Oh, tariffs. He was talking shit about the Chinese. On and on and on. And so even the Chinese people were keeping up with our elections, wanted Biden to win. But all the Chinese nationalists did, because they all hated Trump. And it's because of tariffs and the blatant shit talking and the China, and
Sent that Kung Flu over here.
Yeah, and you're gonna blame them for. I blame the U.S. and China and anyone who funded that Wuhan lab. Myself, but I blame the people who actually did it. I'm not going to blame the whole entire country.
Yeah, or whatever those videos were that kind of like people foaming at the mouth and dying in the street. Like,
yeah, I'm like,
wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and collapsing and falling over and like shaking and like.
But yeah, that goes like the point I said. But like, I've heard people say like we should be bombing them because of that. I'm like, it's not like if you want to like go like take it out on the government, like fucking go for it. But like, we're just gonna bomb like people, like that had nothing to do with anything. Like that's just insane.
So there's another thing with China I want to get with, and that is Taiwan.
Yeah, I saw that. What is up with this island?
Okay, so Taiwan has never been a part of China, never. And what happened was what?
You said it's never been a part of what?
It's never been a part of China.
China, okay.
It's never been a part of China. It's never been it's never been. And so what happened was during when Mao took over power in China, during that time, you had all the capitalists fled to Taiwan. And the only reason why Mao was able to take over China was because his forces, the communists were able to take over China, was because the communists barely fought the Japanese during that World War II time when Japan took over parts of China. So that's the reason that the Chinese were able to, because they didn't they didn't use resources to fight and things like that. So the capitalists, but the capitalists were the ones, or I think they were called the nationalists back then. There's the communists and the nationalists. And the nationalists were the ones fighting the Japanese and liberating people. It's crazy. I was watching a video and it lays out fact for fact, line item per line item, how many battles these two factions were in. And it was like, I have this many battles, and it would be like, a number on the top of your hand for the Communist Party. So I thought that was interesting. And so that's a big reason why they were able to take over China after World War II, was because they didn't extend resources to fight and help liberate the country. And the nationals did, and I guess they didn't have the resources to fight off the communists after that. So anyways, when Mao took over power in China, a bunch of the capitalists and nationalists went to Taiwan, which is an island right outside of China on its east coast. And
like a Hong Kong situation where it's like somewhere where they're actually allowed to have free trade, or relatively.
It is not a Hong Kong situation because Hong Kong used to be a part of China.
Okay, gotcha.
And then, well, I think,
or maybe in the sense that people are going there to be able to trade, even leaving China.
They're mostly fleeing because the communists are taking over. So, anyways, Mao really destroyed the culture in China. He destroyed the economy in China. During the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, there were huge famines that completely devastated the Chinese. And that's because the Communist Party would take all of this grain and store it and not use it, and it would be rotting in warehouses, while these farmers died, and just despicable. And he did something with with temples, like those ancient Chinese temples, like you could no longer go there and all this stuff. So the thing too is, like, if you want real Chinese culture, you go to Taiwan. China's considered like a watered down version of what is left of their culture. Their real culture. If you want real, like hot, like what the culture's supposed to be, like real Chinese hospitality, real temples, and festivities, and it's Taiwan all the way. So anyways, the Communist Party has always hated Taiwan because they've been adversaries ever since, forever, really. So there's that. China wants the island. It's kind of crazy the way that they go about it. China always claims that Taiwan is a part of China. When you say things like, I forget what people were saying. They were saying something about COVID and Taiwan, and it was like Taiwan had just started to get COVID and their rates were going through the roof, and people were saying, well, China has the lowest rates in the world right now. They're doing the best with COVID in the world right now. But you'd be like, well, not if you include Taiwan. It's not. And so it would be like this, that meme where the guys doesn't know which button to push?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was. It was like you had Taiwan. Taiwan is a part of China on one button. And then on the other button, it was like Taiwan has the worst COVID rates. So including the Chinese numbers, China's not doing the best in the world with COVID. And so it was like, it's funny because the Chinese Communist Party is like children about it.
Yeah, just politicians.
Yeah,
when the Democrats are in power and the stock market tanks, it's no, the stock market isn't that important. And then when the Republicans are in power and the stock market tanks, the Democrats are like, oh no, look at the stock market. It's just, it doesn't matter when they don't want it to matter, and vice versa. It's just, I just want consistency, bro. That's all.
Consistency, bro.
That's all I want. Let's just be consistent. Oh, well.
So China is feeling more confident. They're ramping up their military in the South China Sea. They are showing that they're definitely showing force, and it's very interesting. And they're doing flybys, military drills near Taiwan. They're flying completely over them in some cases, and very it's definitely a hostile act. Like, if we're talking about countries, right? Like one country can't fly a plane over another country without some kind of permission or something. And then Taiwan would never give China permission to begin with.
So where does the U.S. fit into this? Is the U.S. like so we don't claim Taiwan or whatever, but I have a feeling that basically wherever China's power stops, like the U.S. wants to be on the edge of that, right? So do we have any like, military kind of like, not interest, but like presence in Taiwan that you know of, or the cynical side of me could be like, yeah, they're just doing this to get everybody a tizzy and sell more military equipment, but who knows? Like, I guess I could believe anything. But yeah, does the U.S. have anything like to do with this, or are they like fucking with Taiwan? Is like China fucking with Taiwan, or is this like a China-U.S. thing?
Yeah, China's messing with Taiwan, and the U.S. is not happy about it because they are allied. I think the U.S. is allied with Taiwan. I'm pretty sure they've got a military base there. Don't quote me on that, but that's just because the U.S. has military bases.
Yeah. In all likelihood, we have at least one.
Yeah, they've got military bases in almost every country in the world, so it wouldn't surprise me. But what is extremely interesting is that just recently, 3 days ago, it was announced that the UK would be sailing in South China Sea waters as like a show of force against China, with the huge naval presence. And I think like on the aircraft carrier, there are some U.S. Planes. And then I think there's like a U.S. destroyer that's going along with them. There's even like a couple Dutch ships too. These countries are just so silly. You're going to spend all this money because if you look at the route they've got to go to, they've got to go down the channel through Gibraltar through the Mediterranean, through the Suez Canal, around India, and through that way to get to the South China Sea. So they've got like all these ships. You're wasting all these resources just to show force and show presence. And look at what our slaves built. Look what we taxed our slaves to build. And
you're not allowed to have a dog or eat more than one cheeseburger a month, or you're hurting the planet, dude.
Exactly. You can't have a cheese. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't have a dog, and you can't have more than one cheeseburger. But
we got to save that carbon for the military. The greater good, man.
Yeah, if you want to look at like environmental stuff, how about we just start with the military? How about that? If you really want to save the environment, let's start there.
All right, let's take a quick second to shout out Agorist Acre Seeds. Agoristacres.com stocks a variety of seeds for your garden or homestead. They also have really cool packaging instead of those silly paper envelopes.
Buy seeds with crypto, support the counter economy, and become self-sustaining today. Agorist Acres offers fast shipping so you can get started right away.
Make sure you use code Nexus10 at the checkout for 10% off of your orders. Also, they will donate a portion of the sale to Agorist Nexus, helping to bring you all the great content you expect. And all right, let's get on with it.
So you think there's something actually going on, or you think this is just busy work for military to look important? I feel like they're always doing something.
Well, I don't know, right?
Yeah, who does?
But there's always
like a lot of like wars like start with they're just like acting tough like this, and then somebody like accidentally shoot something off. Like I even think like the Civil War, like they're saying like the first shots, like a lot of people think it was like accidental even. Like they didn't mean to do it.
Yeah, at Fort Sumter, right?
Yeah, South Carolina, yeah. Yeah, so it's like, it's like kind of like playing with fire a lot of times. It's like, they set this stuff up to try to talk tough and look important and remind them why we need them, and then it ends up going wrong. And I mean, maybe not wrong for them. Like, okay, this gives us even more power. Cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and then they just go along with it. Now, why these governments think that this is a good idea, I mean, it's just beyond me. There was one outlet that was like that was talking about like nuclear force as like one of the best outcomes and one of the best scenarios. And I was like, you people are mad.
Depopulation crowd.
This is mad. This is madness. Like, using nukes is like a best case scenario. Like, I just it's yeah, it's really hard to think like these people. Like, how could you even think that that using military strikes and nuclear weapons is like one of the best scenarios? I totally agree with that. I think it's a possibility. Like what's her name said, Mother Rothschild, like she said, if her kids want it, they'll do it. And I wouldn't put it past them, because here let's look at what it gives them. It gives them all of the military stuff, military industrial complex profits, all of that. Okay, on every side, because they fund both sides. It creates division, so a divide and conquer scenario. Distraction. People are not going to be looking into COVID or caring about COVID or anything else. They're going to be like those damn whoever, Russians, Chinese, the damn Americans, depending on which side of this thing that you're on. It does a lot. Now, I'm not sure that these, whatever you want to call them, intergenerational, what's the word I'm looking for, Dag? Intergenerational organized crime?
Generational dynasty criminal organizations. I don't know.
I'm not sure that they want like a full out nuclear war.
I don't think they want to destroy all the resource. Like, I mean, I don't know, because like you don't want to just like you don't have anything to rule if you just destroy it, right? So I don't know. Like, yeah, that doesn't seem like it's almost like on V for Vendetta, right? They say, oh, traditional war, you destroy all the resources, and that you would go somewhere to take. Where if you manufacture a disease, use biological warfare, you can kill all the people and not have to drop a bomb, and you don't lose all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wonder if that has any pertinence.
With this, I mean, you could, even if there was nukes or bombs that went off, I mean, obviously they do want a lot of people off the planet. They do want them gone. And that's because when you look at what these people say, that's what they've said. So I'm going to take their word for it, that's what they want. There's one of the Rothschilds that work at Facebook. I think Jeff Rothschild has a pretty good quote on this, which we went over in game 6. Is that right? I can't remember. I think it's in game 6.
There's a few of them. The one where we did the string of quotes, yeah.
So, and that was at the end when we wrapped it up. But so, yeah, I mean, it could do a bunch of stuff for them, right? And I wouldn't put it past them if they wanted it. They do want to they have wanted to devastate the U.S. for centuries, and unfortunately, they're succeeding in that. I mean, people are not going to be looking into COVID. They're going to be like, "Shut up, get your vaccine or whatever." We got to focus on the Chinese, or we got to focus on the Russians.
Well, it's always some sort of war, right? And it's whether it be like a hot war with like another country, or when they start getting like wars on like abstracts, like war on drugs or war on like terror, or like climate change is another big one. Something that's there's no definable win. It's just something that they can justify doing anything to us or taking anything from us, and that, and any type of any one of those things, any type of war, they justify that because, there's some grave danger. So, as long as, whether it's real or not, they can just make it look like there's a danger,
Yeah, exactly. They did it for 9/11. We have to take away these rights for the Patriot Act. And
I mean, just look at 2020, take away anything just for for a cold. So not even an actual war.
Yeah, and then, I mean, they could use this for so much. More virtue signaling, and you don't love your country, or I could just see these anarchists trying to explain why all this is bad, and these radicalized Americans who are at war with China and Russia just be like, love your country, and stuff like that. So it definitely would be interesting. Now, if the U.S. were to go to war with China, I mean, what would Russia do, right? Russia, if that were to happen, Russia would definitely take the Ukraine in a heartbeat, probably all of it. Because it's like, well, NATO's not going to attack me, first of all, because the Ukraine's not in NATO. But the U.S. has to focus on China. So, do you want two fronts? Is the question.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're like neighbors, so it wouldn't behoove them to get in a war with each other, But then, like what kind of war? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I really can't see like one of them like invading, the main. I mean, do we even do those types of wars anymore? Anyhow, I mean, is it just be drones and missiles? I mean, it seems like even like in like the Middle East, they're getting out of regular war.
I think if it was with the big country, yeah, I think there would be some kind of naval stuff. I think that there would be some kind
I
of
definitely think naval. I don't know.
Definitely air, maybe some ground strikes in certain strategic areas. Definitely nukes and missiles. I could see all these countries using as many resources as they could to fight each other off. Especially these big, huge superpowers, for sure. So it's not like China's not like Yemen, where we can just drop bombs and not even hear about it. So, if the U.S. were to go to war with China and Russia, where would the cards fall, right? And I think most of Europe would side with the U.S.
Yeah, not much of a choice there.
Yeah, and they are in NATO, so there's an alliance, and the UK too, of course. And what would like Australia do? Probably US, of course. So
yeah, they only send like 17 troops to fight in anything anyhow, so they probably won't do much.
But then you got Japan.
17.
Then you've got Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan versus China.
Where does Japan fall with China these days? They used to not get along, right?
Oh man, they've always hated each other.
Okay. So we get to Japan. It's like picking teams in basketball. All right, I want Japan. Oh shit. So okay, so what do we do? What do Agorist do? Sell guns to both sides?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I just want to show off the importance of agorism here, and that is that we don't need to fund these states. That we don't need to give these criminals money to have their slaves fight each other.
Yeah. That's, like you mentioned earlier, like that really is one of my big things too, with like wanting to use crypto instead of fiat, and, avoiding taxes, as much as possible, because I don't want it to, to go to fund this kind of violence. But, I really have to wonder, even like, we always talk about like taxes and stuff going to pay for this. And it's like, man, like, I really don't think much taxes go to pay for this. I definitely think it's like the inflationary stuff, it's the money printing that pays for a lot of this stuff. Like if we actually saw it come out of our taxes, like, I mean, I feel like they'd have to charge, we'd have to pay so much more. And I feel like it'd be so much easier for people to be anti-war. Like the people I know who are like, oh no, well, we got to go fight, blah, blah, blah. Like if they just sit down and write a check for $500 every month to fund the war, they'd be like, no, this is ridiculous. We need to stop these wars. I really feel like they need to keep it sort of hidden from us, like the actual cost, because otherwise, regular people wouldn't be so nonchalant about it, or even so, pro-war in a lot of instances. But yeah, so just, anything we can do to not fund it, I think is a win, for sure, as best we can. But then of course that comes down again, we don't pay taxes, like taxes suck, but it's the Federal Reserve. It's always the fucking Federal Reserve. It's always bad money, bad currency. It just allows so much terrible things to happen. I think when you have a solid currency, it's just like, oh, I don't know. I just feel like the universe works better.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, even though it's new, because it's volatile, it's that your money will increase in value over time. With crypto and with fiat, that it will decrease regardless of what kind of fiat you have. It will because every single central bank is really part of just one, global bank, and so they're all coordinating together, and they're all just printing lots and lots of money. So it doesn't matter which one; they're all inflated. So yeah, I think Roger Ver said it best when he said, if everyone used crypto, there would be no wars or something. It's totally true. And
I just don't see people voluntarily funding more, even people who claim to be pro, like, yeah, yay, war, yay, military, like, I just don't see them sitting down to write a check, to fund it. At least not stupid wars, like I could totally see, people funding good causes that, I mean, I don't want to say would look like war, but might be, some sort of forceful action, to right a wrong or whatever, or help people who are being oppressed. But, it's just like the war on drugs. Like, if you had to sit down and write a check every month to keep people in prison for pot, even if you think, the people who think pot should be illegal would probably change their tune real fucking quick, if they actually had to see that. So, if they can't just behind our back make money to fund all this nonsense, it just go away out of necessity. It's not what people want if they have to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's actual counter economics, right? There's grow your own food and start selling it to your neighbors, or trade with your neighbors, and use crypto in every single transaction, and as many as you can, and
whenever possible.
3D print your own stuff to not only avoid sales taxes, but see if your neighbor needs anything. Sell something to him.
Well, one of the things that I like about like the 3D printer too is it's like, I'm not buying a bunch of stuff on like Amazon. It's like, yeah, I buy a roll of filament on Amazon, but then I can make tons of stuff. So how many less packages am I getting delivered? How much less, like you said, sales tax, just, how much, if we want to go the environmental route, how much better for the environment is it, we can just have our, decentralized manufacturing. It's so neat. Oh, get excited.
We're getting Dag excited, everyone.
Dude, I really want one of those, the treadmill printers that just like, they can just print and pop stuff off. Like, oh, that seems really cool. That might be one of my next 3D printer purchases. God,
All right.
room. I can't say it too loud. I don't want my wife to hear me. Oh, she did. I'm in trouble. Oh shit. All right, man. We got anything else or what?
No, I think that's a wrap.
Did we come up with a quote?
Yes.
I have one. Okay, I have one too. I feel like we should read two. Let me do this one first.
Okay.
Okay. Free nations are peaceful nations. Free nations don't attack each other. Free nations don't develop weapons of mass destruction. George W. Bush.
You really pulled a George W. Bush on me here.
You read the first couple sentences. It's great.
Yeah,
I couldn't let that George W. Bush quote pass us up because that is just the most hypocritical bullshit I've ever heard.
Right? Yeah.
But that's why I said we needed two because we need a real quote too. So if you got an actual one, go for it.
An actual quote. Oh man, that was so great. See, this is why you're my co-host.
Hey man, got to keep it spicy.
Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws. Mayor Armstrong Rothschild. Agorist, Nexus out.
Peace.